وَاسْتَبَقَ الْبَابَ. And they both raced each other. Towards what? Towards the door. Istabaqa from the root letters sin ba qa. Sabaqa. Sabaqa is to proceed, to go ahead of someone. And istibaq is when two or more people are trying to run in competition, are trying to outdo one another. So just imagine two people are running, and the race is who gets to the door first. So istabaqa al-bab. Both of them, they ran towards the door. Yusuf a.s., he ran in order to escape. And she ran in order to stop him. And what happened? He ran, وَقَدَّتْ. And she tore قَمِيصَهُ, his shirt, مِن دُبُرٍ, from the back. She tore his shirt from the back in order to catch up with him, in order to stop him. Qaddat is from the root letters qaf, dal, dal, from the word qad. And qad is to tear something lengthwise. What does it mean? To tear something lengthwise. So we see that she must have caught Yusuf a.s. shirt from behind to stop him while he was running. And because of that, his shirt got ripped. So qaddat qamisahu min duburin. And what happened then? وَأَلْفَيَا. And they both found سَيِّدَهَا, her husband, لَدَى الْبَابِ, by the door. This was completely unexpected. They found her husband by the door. She had locked all of the doors. And Yusuf a.s. ran for the door. And as soon as he gets to the door, who does he find over there? The master. Al-Faya. Al-Faya is from the root letters lam, fa, waw, from the word lafun. And it's to find something by chance. To meet someone unexpectedly. You're not looking for them. You're not looking for something, but just by chance you find it there. Like for example, you're looking for a particular, let's say a pen. You were trying to find it, you couldn't find it, you gave up on it. Now after a week or something, you open up your purse, the inside pocket, and you see the pen over there. This is what? That by chance, unexpectedly, you see it there. You weren't looking for that at that moment. By chance you find it there. So Al-Faya, both of them found Sayyidaha, her husband. Sayyid is actually used for master, it's from the root letter sin ya dal. But figuratively, it is also used for the husband. Why? Because he's like the master in the family. Both of them found her master, lad al-bab, near the door. What happened then? She completely flipped. Completely. Qalat, she said, ma jaza'u. What is a recompense? Man arada, of the one who intended, bi ahlika, with your wife, su'an, evil. Someone who intends to do evil with your wife, what should be the punishment of that person? Illa, except an yusjana, that he should be imprisoned, or adabun alim, or a painful punishment, that he should be tormented severely, and he should be beaten up. Just imagine how she flips. Is this love? This is not love. But what happens? At that time, when people are inviting, they claim that they love you a lot. They claim that they will do anything for you. But when they get caught, they put the blame on you. This is exactly what happened with Yusuf a.s. But Yusuf a.s. did not fall for her. He did not. Because he knew that what she was calling him to was wrong. And he resisted. And he ran away. And she became extremely upset. And when they found her husband, she says that he has intended to do something evil with me. What does she mean by this, evil? That he tried to harm me, sexually. Now why did she say this? First of all, she said this to save herself from her husband. Because you can imagine the state that she must have been in. When she says, Hay talak, I am ready and prepared for you, come. You can imagine the state that she must have been in. And if Yusuf a.s. is running and his shirt is torn, then obviously this was something extremely awkward. Very awkward. So, in order to save herself from her husband, immediately she flips and she puts the entire blame on who? Yusuf a.s. And secondly, why did she say this? Also to cover up for the insult that she had just experienced. Because she had been rejected. She had been rejected. By who? By Yusuf a.s. And when someone gets rejected in this way, they become extremely furious. So she became furious and she blamed Yusuf a.s. That a person who intends evil with your family, he should be imprisoned. Yusjana is from the root letters Sin, Jim, Noon, Sijin. And Sijin is a prison. And it's basically when a person is imprisoned after being proven guilty. Sijin is what? A prison where a person is sent after he is proven guilty. There are different types of prisons. One prison is that in which people perhaps stay for 2 or 3 days, maybe 2 or 3 nights, until their case is brought to the court and then a final decision is made. And if they are to remain imprisoned for a long period of time, then they are sent to bigger prisons. So Sijin is a prison where a person is sent after he is proven guilty. Aw adabun alim, or a painful punishment. So we see that moments ago she claimed to love him, but now she was blaming him. So we see that what she had for Yusuf a.s. was not love. What was it? Lust. And this is the reality of such feelings, that when a person only wishes to fulfill their lust with someone, then they don't care about the other person at all. In love, what happens? You care about the other person. You want to do what would please the other person. And in lust, you just want to fulfill your desire. You don't care at all about the other person. So Yusuf a.s., what did he do? Did he just stand idle? No. Did he just take the blame? No. He declared his innocence. He defended himself. He says, قَالَ هِيَ رَاوَدَتْنِي عَنْ نَفْسِي. She is the one who sought to seduce me. He says very confidently that هِيَ رَاوَدَتْنِي, she sought to seduce me, عَنْ نَفْسِي, from myself. رَاوَدَت, from the same root letters, ra, well done. وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ, and a witness testified, min ahliha, from her family. Shahida shahidun. Shahid is from the root letters Sheen Hadal. So a witness testified from her family that in kana qamisuhu, if his shirt was qudda min qubulin, if it was torn from the front. Qubul is from the root letters Qaf Balam. Qabul also means before. Qubul means front part. If the shirt is torn from the front, فَصَدَقَتْ, then she has spoken the truth in blaming him. وَهُوَ مِنَ الْكَاذِبِينَ, and he is of who? The liars. So if the shirt is torn from the front, then that means she is truthful and he is lying. Because the woman, she just said that it's Yusuf's fault. And because both of them were blaming one another, there was no witness to say that, okay, no, it's this person's fault or this person is innocent. There was no witness. So what did you need? Some circumstantial evidence. Some circumstantial evidence. And what was that evidence? That we have to look at the shirt. If the shirt is torn from the front, then that means she was trying to defend herself. She was trying to defend herself. And in that process, she tore the shirt from the front. But وَإِن كَانَ قَمِيصُهُ, and if his shirt was قُدَّ مِن دُبُرٍ, if it is torn from the back, فَكَذَبَتْ, then she is lying, وَهُوَ مِنَ الصَّادِقِينَ, and he is of those who are truthful. Because if the shirt is torn from the back, then what does it mean? He is trying to escape, and he is trying to defend himself. So then what happened? فَلَمَّا, then when رَأَى, he saw. Who saw? The husband. When he saw قَمِيصَهُ, his shirt, was قُدَّ مِن دُبُرٍ, it was ripped from the back. قَالَ, he said, إِنَّهُ مِن كَيْدِكُنَّ, indeed it is of the women's plots. It is from your plots. إِنَّ كَيْدَكُنَّ, indeed your kaid, indeed your plot, it is عظيم, it is great. What does it mean by this statement? إِنَّهُ مِن كَيْدِكُنَّ. He, this dhamir, who, innahu, this has been understood in several ways, but basically it refers to the statement of the woman. That the statement of yours, when you said that what should be the recompense for the one who has intended to do evil with your wife, except that he should be imprisoned or he should be beaten up severely, this statement is of your plots. Meaning it's your fault. You tried to seduce him, and in order to cover yourself up, what did you do? You came up with this statement. In order to prove your innocence. This is of your plots. And indeed, your plots, meaning the plots of you women, they're very great. Meaning you can tempt, you can fool the most strongest of men. You can fool even the most wisest of men. إِنَّ كَيْدَكُنَّ عَظِيمٌ. What does he mean by this statement? That indeed your plots are very azim. That women, if they try to seduce someone, if they try to especially change the mind of a man, they can do it very easily. Very, very easily. In one way, it's a big gift that has been given to women. In another way, it's a big test as well. Because a woman can use this ability to encourage her husband to do something good. And at the same time, she can use this skill to urge him to do something that is wrong. Isn't it? So he says that this kaid that you have of making men change their minds by your words, by your statements, by your blackmailing, by the things that you say, it's very great. Because the statement that she said immediately, what should be the recompense of the one who has intended evil with your wife? Any man, if he listens to this, that my wife has been treated in this way by another man, what would he do? He would become furious. And immediately he will try to punish the man who has done something wrong. And just imagine Yusuf a.s. was a slave. He could have easily just killed him or hit him or do anything. Anything that he wanted. But then what happened? Because Yusuf a.s. defended himself, he spoke up in his defense. This is why a person said, Shahida shahidu min ahliha, someone from the woman's family said that you have to look at the circumstantial evidence because both are accusing one another. So the women, they're very quick, very skillful in changing the mind of men. So what does the Aziz do then? He says, Yusuf, O Yusuf, a'rid an hada. Just turn away from this. Just imagine he does not punish his wife. He does not punish his wife. What does he say? O Yusuf, just turn away from this. Turn away from what? This matter. Meaning don't talk about it. Forget it. Ignore it. And the reason why he said this was because he did not wish this incident to become widespread. He did not wish that people should come to know of what his wife did. So he says to Yusuf a.s., just forget about it, ignore it, close the chapter, move on. وَاسْتَغْفِرِي, and he tells his wife that seek forgiveness لِذَنْبِكِ, for your sin. Apologize. Say sorry. Apologize to who? Yusuf a.s. إِنَّكِ, indeed you, kunti, you have been, min al-khati'een, of those who are sinful. Khati'een is a plural of khati'. And who is khati'? One who commits a khata'. Meaning, it's your fault. You are the one who is at fault. We see that for some problems, there are no solutions. You cannot solve the problem. You don't know what to do. Because imagine in the situation that Aziz was. As a husband and as a finance minister, when his wife has done something like this with the slave, what could he do? If he punished the slave, that would be completely unfair. And we see that Aziz was a man who had some sense in him, who was a wise man. On the other hand, if he punished his wife, then what would that lead to? What would that lead to? A bad name for his family. People would start talking about it. So there are some problems in which you cannot do anything. Similarly, if, for example, in a person's household today, people do something wrong, such as this. Children, they do something wrong, such as this. Then what can be done? If you try to punish them yourself, that's wrong because you don't have the law in your hand. You cannot do that. Even if your daughter goes and commits zina, you cannot punish her yourself. Why? Because the law is not in your hand. And if you do that, it would be wrong on your part to do such a thing. You cannot punish. So what is the solution? That you just advise people. You can only advise them. Like over here, he advises her that you apologize, you say sorry, because it is your fault. We'll listen to the recitation, then we'll continue. It seems as though the Aziz, he was a very easygoing man. Because if it was anyone else, what would they do? What would they do? They would at least be harsh towards their wife. Maybe say, okay, you're divorced, or go away from here, I don't want to see you again, or something like getting rid of Yusuf alayhi salam, remove the fitna, remove the problem at least. But he seems to be very easygoing, which is why he only says, Yusuf, ignore this, and to his wife, apologize, seek forgiveness from him, and don't repeat the same mistake again. That's all that he says. He seems to be a very easygoing man. And we see that the reason why he told Yusuf alayhi salam to forget about it, to not talk about it, was so that this incident would not spread. Nobody would find out about it. But for a family like this, the finance minister, if an incident like this happens in their house, obviously it's going to spread. People are always looking for things to talk about people who are at this level. Which is why we see people are following them with their cameras, and any picnic they go to, any family event they have, people are following them. What do you call them? Paparazzi, exactly. They follow them around, trying to look for things that they can talk about, things that they can spread. And the same thing happened with this incident. The man, he tried to keep it controlled, but it spread very quickly. And especially amongst the women, which is what is described in the following ayat, that how the incident had spread so quickly, and how the woman was being spoken ill of, and how she tried to prove herself innocent. But inshallah we will continue that, because it's a whole event. Inshallah we'll continue that in the next session. So, what is one of the main lessons that we learned from what we learned today? One of the main lessons, that haya is very important, even if there is a lot of age difference. Because sometimes we think, oh, it's family, they're so young, no big deal. But the fact is that if someone is non-mahram, they're non-mahram, and Allah knows about the state of the heart of people. You might say, no, there's nothing wrong that I'm thinking. Alhamdulillah, very good. But as you know, the third is shaitan, and you don't know what might happen the next moment. She was going to adopt him as a son, but just look at how her feelings changed towards him. So this is very important. We see that Yusuf alayhi salam, he declares his innocence. He does not take the blame for it. Generally we think that being humble means if people are accusing you, just take it. At least try to defend yourself. If you cannot prove it, at least you have attempted. And especially a blame like this, of committing zina, of approaching the wife of the master, this is something unacceptable. This is something that would affect his reputation for the rest of his life. And which is why we learn, inshallah, in the story, that he made sure that he was declared as someone innocent. So we see over here that if we are accused of something that is wrong, then we should defend ourselves. We should speak up in defense. And we see that injustice, depriving people of their rights, or oppressing them, is something that is so wrong that it leads people to doing wrong. If you deprive someone of their right, they're going to end up doing something that is wrong. And where does it start from? From your injustice, from your depriving them of their right. We see that in places, in countries where there is no justice, where there is no law and order, what happens? Because of the zulm that people are facing, they end up doing zulm on others. And they think it's legal. But if you look at Yusuf alayhi salam's way, on the other hand, that is of who? Those people who are patient. Although everyone was being unjust towards him, he does not think that that means he can be unjust towards others. Generally, what do we think? If we are being treated harshly, if we are being deprived of our right, then we can do the same to other people. But Yusuf alayhi salam is not like that. Just because people have been unfair to him, it doesn't mean that he should be unfair. And this is what ihsan means. That even in difficulties, you focus on the positive things. You focus on the blessings. If you look at it, he says at that moment that my master has been so good to me. I cannot do zulm. So it's about focusing on the blessings. And when a person is like that, then he can stay right. We see that each and every single person is unique. Every person is unique. And because they are unique, there is something special about them. Something special. And you can benefit from that person because of that special thing that they have. Because we learned earlier that Yusuf alayhi salam, the people of the caravan, they saw him, didn't pay attention. The Aziz, he saw him, he paid attention to him. Each and every person has some ability, has some unique characteristic, and because of that we can benefit from them. So never belittle anyone. You can learn from children, you can learn from people who are ignorant. Like somebody once asked another, where did you learn wisdom from? And he said, from those people who are ignorant. And we see that sometimes a person has some special ability, some special skill, and it cannot come out unless a person goes through some difficulty. So a person should accept the difficulty, acknowledge it, because only then can the good come out of him.